I'm going to go ahead and say that the episode titled The Promise is, at least so far, the best episode of Season 2 of Arrow. Because not only did the looming threat of Deathstroke really come into perspective and really become amplified by taking it to a much more personal level, but this episode just had so many great moments, so many meaningful advancements in character. I was literally from the first second of this episode, I was on the edge of my seat. Whenever there was a commercial break, I was like, come on, what's gonna happen next? Okay, so the plot of this, it's basically continuing literally seconds after the previous episode left off, where Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, is visiting the Queen household, and the thing is, he's supposed to be dead. I mean, we haven't really seen that yet on the island flashbacks, but Oliver supposedly shot him in the eye, so hence the eye patch. So, so he comes to visit the Queen household, and Oliver can't exactly tell his family, "Hey, you're my old enemy," because he has to keep secrets, and we all know that Slade would spill the beans about Oliver being the Green Arrow. He would basically spill all of Oliver's secrets if Oliver spilled any of his. But the thing that really makes this episode unique is that, at least in the present day, Oliver never dressed up as the Green Arrow. He never got into costume. He never went out and fought crimes. It was basically kind of a tense home invasion situation. Not home invasion not the standard home invasion plots, because the family wasn't really being held prisoner. Like Moira and Thea were not really being held prisoner. They just saw this guy as a businessman. So Oliver was really the one being held hostage, because he couldn't exactly leave. He had no idea what this guy was going to do. He sure was not going to leave his family alone with him. And basically he had to count on his friends to come and try to save him. So first off, that's already an original plot in terms of the usual plot lines for these Arrow episodes. The fact that he never actually goes out and does Green Arrow work, does crime fighting. He's just a prisoner in his own house. And throughout the whole episode, he's got this really hostile dynamic with Slade, because obviously they know each other, and obviously they have some very painful history, but Oliver really does not want to let his family know that. So it's just this game. They're just kind of playing this game of wits throughout the entire episode. Slade is charming up Oliver's family. He's smiling. And we learn later in the episode, at the end of the episode, why he was in the Queen household, because up until that point I was like, why is he here? Is he here just to go like, yeah, 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 yeah? But we learn later that he did have a mission in mind by visiting the Queen household. But yeah, I really like the very subtle, or not. I like the relatively subtle dynamic that goes on between them. At least subtle in terms of them not letting the other characters know. They're strictly keeping it to themselves. But you can see Oliver practically foaming at the mouth, wanting to kill this guy. Basically every second of the visit. Hell, as soon as his mom walks out of the room, the camera focuses on Slade for a second, and then it quickly shifts to the right, and it shows Slade blocking a knife that Oliver was going to use to kill him. So I was like, wow, he's not wasting any time. So the fact that Oliver just felt the need to try and murder this guy in cold blood without any hesitation, A really says something about the personal conflict between them, and B, it really makes you curious. It really makes you curious as to what happens to them on the island. Speaking of which, we also got a major change in the way of things on the island, because as they've been saying, they lay siege to, or they infiltrate Ivo's ship, and at first everything seems to be going as planned. Oliver infiltrates, and they deceive Ivo into thinking that he's outsmarted them, and then they get on the ship and free all the prisoners. But what something that goes wrong is that Ivo tells Slade that Oliver chose to save Sarah over Shadow. Now, not only did Slade love Shadow, so that's already a huge blow, but the fact that Oliver just kept it secret from him for this long. Oh my god. So, understandably, he's pissed, and I really have to give props to Manu Bennett. I mean, the acting was fantastic all around in this episode, but here is where we really got to see Manu Bennett shine, because he just plays this part so beautifully, where he really has this sense of loyalty to Oliver, sort of like a fellow soldier, a brother in arms, and when he feels betrayed, you can see the pain and anguish clearly written on his face, and you can clearly see a look of betrayal, and that's not easy to do, especially for a character. If you're playing a character as butch as this, that's not easy to suddenly go from the big tough guy mercenary. I can't talk. But yeah, then subsequently, when he decides to take matters into his own hands and sort of change the regime of the ship, as it were, it's very effective, and it has me, once again, it had me gripping the edge of my seat, because I was wondering, oh god, what is he going to do to Oliver? Now, I mean, what is going to happen? What more is going to happen between them? Because he still has both of his eyes in the island flashbacks. So this was one point where the island stuff was much more action-packed than the present-day stuff, which I thought was suitable, because there didn't really need to be any action in the present-day stuff. It was just this very tense home situation where Slade Wilson is basically establishing himself as the big bad guy, Oliver's greatest adversary to date. And already I am liking Manu Bennett a lot better than John Barrowman as the season's villain. Not that John Barrowman did a bad job or anything, but Manu Bennett just, in my opinion, not only in terms of performance, but in terms of intimidation, I think he just blows John Barrowman out of the water. Because John Barrowman, at least with him, he had kind of a soft spot in that he was trying to do some good for his son. He cared about his son. He had something that he could not stand to lose. Now, Slade Wilson, he doesn't want to save anybody. He just wants to burn everything down that Oliver cares about, and then he wants to kill Oliver. He he is a man with a vendetta. And so far as we've seen, nothing else matters to him. And by showing their relationship on the island for this long, ever since the middle of season 1, by showing how that relationship has developed into a pretty strong friendship, we're able to grasp why this is so personal and painful for Oliver to suddenly be going up against this very unexpected foe, because he's very surprised that Slade Wilson is alive. And having fought with him and previously experienced his attempted vengeance on the ship, Oliver knows what this guy is capable of, so that makes the threat all the more real. I mean, he knows that this guy is fully capable of taking down almost anyone who comes across his path, especially with the Mirakuru in his blood. So, really, really good episode, and the action scenes were good. The big battle on the ship during the island flashbacks, that was pretty huge, especially for this show, because the big season 1 finale, they had the fight at the encampment with the tank, but here there are shots where the camera kind of does, I hate to keep coming back to this, but the camera just kind of pans around the ship, and you see all of these guys, real people fighting, and it's pretty well choreographed. It feels appropriately huge. It just was a really well done, relatively large scale fight, because we haven't really seen a fight of this scale done this well on the show before. So that was something really fresh. And needless to say, I'm very interested to see where it goes from here, because good God, Deathstroke is scary. This episode is where Manu Bennett's portrayal of Deathstroke went from a very good villain to a great villain. He is so effective in this show. And any doubts I had about his ability to portray the character in season 1 have been completely wiped away. He and a lot of the other actors have proven themselves more than capable of handling these characters. Stephen Amell has, like I said, he has this great dynamic with Manu Bennett throughout the episode, both in the island stuff and the present day stuff. And also he gives a suitably intense performance. He's very good in this episode. His team didn't exactly get much to do, but I did appreciate that it showed his team in its entirety, because we saw Sarah, we saw Roy, we saw Felicity, and we saw Diggle at the base, at their little lab / training facility beneath the nightclub. So it was nice to see the team in its entirety, and them kind of all gathering together to go fight this guy and save Oliver. So yeah, I really like this episode. The acting is great. The tension is fantastic. The fights are exciting, and the advancement of the plot and the characters is appropriately significant. And like I said, this episode had me on the edge of my seat throughout. And not that I'm not excited for the next episode, which apparently features the Suicide Squad, but I honestly don't know how they are going to top this. At least in terms of just the amount of tension that they captured in this episode. That's really the best word I can use to describe this episode is tension. This just had so much tension. But yeah, that's about all I got. Like I said, very excited about the next one, and hopefully hopefully it's another good one.